Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack, back in to bring the 7.2.5 latest updates for Disc Priest. As of now, what we know and where the spec seems to be headed. Alright, starting off, Disc is getting some, slight adjustments to Shadow Pain in terms of just dealing a little bit more damage. Nothing too crazy there. Plea is getting a cost reduction. Goes from 2% of base mana to 1.5%. So, nice change for it. If it was going to go down to like 1%, you'd spam nothing but Plea. So having it around 1.5% will make it so you can use it sometimes, but it's not going to be something that you're going to be spamming out the wazoo, and will actually have some cost detail to it. So not too shabby there. Powered Radiance is getting the smart healing component added into it, so it's still going to heal the target for other friendly allies within 30 yards, and applying Atonement for half the duration. Now it has a 2-second cast instead of 2.5 seconds, and it is focusing on the most injured targets in the group. So in that vein, it's not too bad, and it's gotten a little bit better, but the 15-second recharge, the 2 charges and stuff like that is still pretty painful to deal with. So some of the talent changes that we're going to go over in just a second help a little bit in that aspect, but fortunately Powered Radiance is not going to be, in their eyes, the bread and butter of the spec. So we probably will be mixing in a lot more Plea. It'll be more important than ever to use your Powered Shield on cooldown as often as you possibly can. Things like that. Now, some of the things that are going to help us get that down is going to be Contrition, being baseline. It is no longer a talent. It still increases atonement duration by 3 seconds. Now, just baseline ability. We get it all the time. Fantastic. To replace some talents, Evangelism is replacing Shadow Covenant. Extends the duration of all your active atonements by 8 seconds. So this is going to be something where it's a 1-minute cooldown, and instantly allowing you to just extend the duration, which is going to be really, really strong. But it also will make Disc not much better of a sustained healer, like the devs actually had intended. So when they made their posts, and I can link to the forums below, one of the biggest things that the devs talked about is saying, we want Disc to be more sustainable and less bursty. Well, this change on the outside looks like, oh yeah, we can extend our atonements to last a little bit longer. We'll have atonements out longer. That means we're more sustained. But I would counter that by saying, how are we setting up for all these atonements going out? Well, we're using both our Radiance charges. Okay, well, those are on cooldown. Those are recharging. Then you're saying, okay, well, I'm doing all kinds of healing and stuff like that, getting the maximum amount of atonements out. I'm seeing it through my weak aura or whatever it is, hitting Evangelism to extend those even further, and then I'm doing more healing as a result and going from there. But what happens when you have Evangelism on cooldown and both Radiance charges on cooldown, or you're waiting on both of them to come back? If we're building a style where you are building up a lot of atonements and then extending all of them with Evangelism, it just makes the spec a lot more bursty. Now, I'm not complaining, but I am wanting to kind of detail how Blizz has set out these goals, but some of the ways that they're doing them are kind of counter to it. So for the player base, this is great, because it's already something that Disc Priest are used to, and they're focusing on the burst healing. I don't see something that's going to be groundbreaking of, oh my gosh, all this stuff's going to change. But for Blizzard's end goal, it's kind of funny that they're not really achieving what they wanted. And maybe, again, this goes back to a disconnect between what they would like to do and what their changes are actually doing. So, net effect, it's great for the players. This talent is going to be the must-have go-to for raiding. Good stuff. Purge the Wicked, of course, got a little bit of a buff. Now, Purge the Wicked is going to be competing with Evangelism. Even with this buff, I don't really see Purge the Wicked being taken for most raid encounters because of how powerful Evangelism can be and because of how high you can push in terms of atonement numbers at any one point in time. So, still will be pretty nice for Mythic Plus if you're pretty confident in just the damage taken of your group, that you can just be adding a lot more with Purge the Wicked and making the run go a lot faster. More buffs never hurt. Sanctuary, Smite's Absorb effect is increased by 50%. Just baselines, Tier 5, it replaces Twist of Fate. Twist of Fate is getting moved into the first tier slot, so these talents are basically kind of switching places from where they previously were. And if you like, I can just pull up the talent selection here. So Twist of Fate now is going to be in the 15 slot, and Sanctuary, so Smite's Absorb effect is increased by 50%, is going to be in the 75 slot. So baseline, Smite will still have an Absorb effect to it, just like it does on Live today, but this just increases the Absorb effect even further. Now, because it's competing with Shadow Covenant and Power Infusion, I really don't see Sanctuary actually seeing a lot of play at the moment, unless the scaling is just absolutely absurdly good. But we already are not casting lots and lots of Smite. Even with the damage buff that they're about to receive, I still don't see Sanctuary being that powerful. We might see some fights or something like that in the future, but for now, I don't see it being something that's groundbreaking and maybe just not powerful enough to compete with, say, Power Infusion. So, and wrapping up all the changes. So again, Twist of Fate's going to be in the 15 slot. This is still going to be really nice because it's going to be something where you have the flexibility of taking this or with Castigation. It might just be a math problem of finding which one's going to be giving you the best value, or maybe there'll be some fights where, you know, people will be knocked low and you'll be able to get ridiculous Twist of Fate uptime out of it, and you'll be doing all kinds of crazy healing and damage out of it. So you can see both of these being taken in raid environments. For Mythic Plus, I could definitely see Twist of Fate being the preferred because of how well it can just be, you know, an immediate cooldown whenever shit hits the fan, really. And saying, okay, everyone's dropped low, now Twist of Fate just automatically procs for me. I have this powerful cooldown that I'm able to kind of take advantage of, you know. So I definitely could see that. In terms of the makeup of what you would be running ideally in a raid environment, I would say Castigation generally might be Twist of Fate on some fights. Feather, and of course there's the CC tier. There hasn't been anything that has really shaken Shield Discipline from being the go-to mana regen talent in raids. Although Mindbender might see some play in Mythic Plus or something like that. Again, Power Infusion just beats the crap out of Shadow Covenant, that's for sure. And Sanctuary is looking like at the moment it's just not powerful enough. Halo, again, is not really that changed, even though it has been buffed. And for raiding, definitely taking Evangelism. I don't see any scenarios where you would not be taking Power Infusion and Evangelism together. The combination, the potential of these spells, of these abilities, just so good. But it also makes Discipline a lot more reliant in many ways on using these cooldowns effectively. So making the most out of your Power Infusion, that you're getting both of your Power Radiance casts off in that period of time, getting lots of plea cast, or if need be, or always pumping out your powered shields on cooldown as often as possible. You know, focusing on your cooldowns again is going to be a really big factor. And actually, most of the spec is going to be based on your cooldowns, because you have cooldowns on Powered Shield, Penance. It'll be Power Infusion, Evangelism that you have to keep track of. Powered Radiance is going to be having a cooldown you have to keep track of. All these different things, and even still Rapture is out there. So you have all these different cooldowns that you need to be keeping track of and you need to be managing in order to burst out the most healing. Because I still think this spec is going to be focused more and more on burst healing maybe than ever before, because of how tight the windows are going to be, because of how reliant we are going to be on having those optimal Powered Radiances and extending them with Evangelism to get even more atonements out, all that kind of stuff. So I think the spec is heading in the right direction. We might hopefully see some cooldown reduction for the Powered Radiance. I would like to see that now. But overall, I think we're heading in a much more healthy direction. And personally, I'm not that afraid of putting more AP into my disc weapon now. I'll say that much. So hope you all enjoyed this video. List of all the changes is going to be in the description below. Let me know what you guys think. What else does Discipline really need to be surviving and be thriving in 7.2.5? Let me know what you guys think. Hope you all enjoy it, and I'll see you all next time.